Good afternoon, ladies, gents and Pikachus. Happy Sunday. Just wanted to make a quick video response to Lubna. I've been watching one of her, some of her channel videos. Now, she was a Muslim. She left Islam, made some excuses about why she left to her Muslims so they wouldn't attack her. But they did anyway, and they've been roundly pressuring her and threatening her and doing all kinds of horrible stuff to her. So now she's started to make apologetics videos, but not for the religion, for her leaving, which I think is absolutely just a shocking, horrible thing to happen to someone. Like, if she wants to leave the religion, she should be able to just freely leave it without her family and friends making out like she's some kind of demonic evil being. But anyway, I wanted to go over some of the reasons she gave why. She made a video that says we shouldn't blame the religion. It's not Islam's fault. It's the people, individually, it's their fault. It's not Islam. And I thought to myself, this is literally what happens when someone who is halfway brainwashed is trying to escape into freedom, and their own family, people they love and trust, are trying to drag them back into the mire. I just feel so sorry for her. So I thought, right, let's look at some of the reasons she gave. The first reason, she said, we shouldn't attack the religion because there's no point, it's a waste of time, it won't do any good, and it's not going to solve the problem. And I thought to myself, I kind of agree with that a little bit, but I think the way she's worded it is not right. So I do think we can't just blame the religion. We can't just blame a false image of a thing and expect that's going to solve the problems. It's not Islam that we need to fix. Islam will not be fixed. Islam is a set thing. It's like rat poison. There's no point, you can't fix rat poison to make it edible. The whole design of rat poison is to kill you. So you just don't eat it. And that's how I feel about Islam. Don't try and fix Islam. Don't try and revisionist, don't try and moderate Islam. There's no such thing as moderate Islam. Islam is Islam. We know that because we read it in the Quran of the Muslims. Every single day we've been reading this, and we know exactly how Allah is commanding his people and how he treats those who try to corrupt his word or who dare to leave. So point one is, don't blame Islam and then try and fix Islam. That's a waste of time, as Lubna said. But while we can't fix Islam and we shouldn't try, we can blame the book. We can blame the Quran for creating the religion. And I think that is where we need to start. The whole point in this book is to spread racism and hate and corrupt human beings into wars against each other so they die in pain and then they can be condemned by Allah. That is literally in his own words. If you don't believe me, buy it and read it. It's what Allah says. It's in his book, in his own words. That's what he says. So it is not worth attacking Islam as a thing unless you are going to get to the root problem and attack the Quran, which is the root thing. So point two, Lubna said we can't blame the religion because it's the individual Muslims' own fault, and there's many Muslims out there who don't agree with racism and hatred and don't believe this to be a thing, but the reason they don't speak out is because of us, Westerners. We are scary and we're making it too scary for them to speak out. And I thought that was just completely misled. It's not Westerners that are stopping Muslims speaking out. We have been begging Muslims to speak out for a good part of the last 20 to 30 years. We're not the ones threatening to kill Muslims for going against their religion. We're not the ones threatening torture and rape to people who leave. Like you, Lubna. None of us white Western guys, or us Christians or Jews, we weren't the ones threatening to kill you and rape you because you left Islam. We're encouraging you to. It's other Muslims. And again, that takes us back to this evil piece of trash book. This is the reason that's happening to you, Lubna. It's not because of white Westerners. It's because people who believe this to be the truth are driven by what's in the pages of this book to do that. Allah commands them to do that. And that's part of the reason why I think it's trash and nobody should believe it. So the third reason she gave is, she said, let's stop giving Muslims a common cause. She said there's moderate Muslims and there's extreme Muslims, and they're all mixed together, so we don't know which one's which. But she said, if we argue against Islam, we are giving them all common cause to join together as a force and attack us as a force. So it's polarizing Islam versus everyone else. And once again, we return to the Quran of the Muslims. Lubna, if you read this, you will know they already have a common cause against us, and it is because of this book. Allah explicitly demands that his Muslims kill and harass us non-believers. That is their common cause. So it's not us. Again, you're blaming it on us. It's not us. It is the Muslims who are doing this because they're following this book. that Allah's orders are literally separate the non-believers, Jews, Christians, pagans, idolaters and atheists into one big group over there, have all your good Muslim believers over here, then send your Muslim believers over as a terrible curse and a punishment upon the non-believers and kill them. And he explicitly says in his Sharia, this isn't even considered murder. He doesn't consider that non-believers who aren't Muslims have souls that are worth saving. He doesn't believe it's murder if those guys are killed by a Muslim. Then point 4, she said, there's plenty of moderate Muslims who would argue in favour of our case against Islam, but the reason they don't is because we don't encourage them enough, and we are just hating. There's no point in us hating and venting and blowing off steam. That's what she said. She said we're venting, we're blowing off steam, we're hating. And once again, I feel like this book has all the answers Allah knows, but not in the way that he thinks. This book is the reason people vent and get angry and make videos that are horrible to Islam. You got to keep in mind, there are thousands of victims of violent sexual crimes against children in this country, and those children all have a voice. Those children all have families who have a voice, and those children all have millions of supporters like me and my other viewers, and we also have a voice. And while the voice of this is the voice of Allah commanding you, bow to me, do as I command, we have a voice of free will which our God gives us. He doesn't command us to do this. So while as you're extreme Muslims and you're scared moderates who aren't saying anything, they're doing that because they are enslaved and commanded to, we are doing this because it is true and we care. We're trying to save Muslims from that. But we can't save them from that if people are making excuses and victim blaming. That's effectively what you're doing, Lubna. Even though you don't think you are, and I know you don't mean to do that, I know you're a lovely person, you don't mean to victim blame. But when you say it's not the Islam religion's fault, it's not Muslims who are doing this, and then you say things like it's Westerners who are making things scary, or we're hating, you're victim blaming. It's not our fault that these guys came here with the intention to dominate us in a military fashion as Allah commands in this book. It's not our fault that these guys came here, set up mosques in order to rob and kill us and take over our country so they could erase our culture and install this over the top. That is not our fault. But we are taking responsibility for it now that we know what's going on. I am, certainly. I'm reading that every single day so people know what's in there, like you should, Lubna. I hope you watch my videos. And you will learn the reason why these individual Muslims believe what they do and behave the way they do isn't because of white Westerners, it isn't because of Britain, it isn't because of any other reason, but Allah, in his Quran of the Muslims, explicitly orders them and commands them to do it at the threat of torture and death, grave torture and burning in hell for eternity, and being charged with guilt by other Muslims. So it's other. I want to make that clear. These horrible punishments that Allah says in his Quran of the Muslims that he's going to punish his Muslims with when they don't believe, he explicitly says it's other Muslims who are going to put that punishment on the non-believers. So people like you, Lubna, when you leave Islam, that's the reason other Muslims are attacking you. It's not because they personally hate you or they disagree with you. Allah has commanded them, once they spot you trying to get away, to attack you in exactly the ways that they are. That's the end of this video. So we know now there's no point attacking Islam as a concept unless we go to the root of the concept and we attack the Quran of the Muslims. We break this down piece by piece and we absolutely make sure everyone knows every single fragment of this, the truth of this book. And the truth of this book is death, hate, sin and evil. When we know that, we can banish this from our country and get back to some kind of semblance of peace, freedom of religion, freedom of speech. And we can stop this ridiculous holy war. That's the end of this video. So I hope you enjoyed that and you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now. And if you personally know of any Muslims who are trying to escape the cult and are in fear for their lives or their safety, please put them in touch with me. I will absolutely go out of my way to help them. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.